My name is Daniel. I never had much, but I always worked hard, and I never gave up. I grew up in a small house with my mother and sister, and we had just enough to live. School was hard, money was tight, and I left early to find a job, any job I could do. At 18, I became a driver. Nothing fancy, just driving cars and keeping them clean. One day, I got lucky. Someone called me and said a rich man needed a quiet driver. I wore my best shirt, fixed my hair, and stood at his gate, nervous but full of hope. He walked out slowly, old and quiet, with a white beard and a calm, deep voice. He said, "You're young but polite. I'll give you a try. Just don't speak too much." His name was Mr. Adams. He was known in the city, rich and private and very old. He had no wife, no kids, no friends around, just staff and silence and tall gates. He didn't talk much at first, just told me where to go and watched the roads in silence. But I stayed patient, drove safely, arrived on time, and never touched his things. Weeks passed like that, calm and quiet, just driving from place to place, day by day. Sometimes he read books in the back seat. Sometimes he just stared out the window. I never asked questions, never tried to talk, just did my job and stayed in my lane.
But one day, he asked, "Do you like driving?" And I smiled and said, "Yes, sir, I do." He nodded slowly, said nothing more. But after that day, he talked a little more. He told me stories about his younger days, about the city, the wars, the hard times. I listened with care, never interrupted, just drove while he remembered his life. He said I'd reminded him of someone, a boy he once helped but lost over time. He grew softer with time, let me help with things, even joined him for tea some days. I still lived small, in a quiet room near his garage, but I felt peace and something more. I had no father, no older brother, but somehow he filled both roles with his silence. He never said much, but in his own way, I think he liked having me around. One evening, he said, "You're honest, Daniel, and that's rare. Don't ever lose it." I said, "Thank you, sir," and meant every word because his words meant a lot to me. I never thought of money, never thought of reward. I was just glad to be trusted, but I didn't know that trust would one day change everything I knew about life. The days went quietly. The sun rose early, and I waited by the car, ready to drive. Mr. Adams came out slow, with careful steps, holding his cane, always dressed well. He nodded to me each morning, his eyes tired, his voice low but still strong inside. We didn't talk much at first, but I could feel respect, quiet and steady, like the wind. He started asking small things like music in the car or a quick stop for coffee. He told me how he liked things, soft music, clean streets, and no noise from crowds. He was old but sharp and noticed everything from traffic lights to my polished shoes. He never smiled big, but I saw it in his eyes when I opened doors or gave him tea. One day he looked tired, leaned back in the seat and said, "Daniel, stay close today." I stayed near the car, watched his steps, helped him carry his bags, walked beside him. He sat on a bench under a tree and told me this place was where his wife once sat. His voice broke a little, his hands shook, but he smiled gently, lost in memory and sun. After that day, he trusted me more, gave me more tasks, asked me for opinions. He wanted advice on roads, food, even colors, and sometimes even asked about music. He let me inside the house to help with small things like mail and simple repairs. I felt proud, but quiet, like a student learning life from a master who said little. The staff watched me closely. Some smiled, some didn't, but I stayed polite to all. One cook said, "He talks to you," with surprise. He never talks to anyone else.
I didn't know why. Maybe he saw something. Maybe just liked the silence we shared. But slowly I felt I belonged. Not as a worker only, but as a quiet friend in his world. He showed me books with notes inside, old letters and photos from long ago. He told me about his youth, his first job, his mistakes, and the people he lost. He didn't cry, but I felt the pain hidden in his soft voice and long, deep pauses. I listened closely, always with care, knowing every word came from far in his soul. He once said, "People chase noise, but peace is where the truth lives." That stayed with me like a lesson from a father, strong and soft at the same time. I kept the notebook, wrote down his words, and read them again on quiet nights. His stories were like maps, full of lessons, showing me how to walk in life with care. One cold evening, he fell near the steps, and I ran fast to lift him up with care. He smiled, said, "Thank you," but I saw the fear hidden behind his tired eyes. He said, "I'm getting old, Daniel." And I said, "I'm here. Don't worry, I won't leave." We sat together in silence, two people from different worlds, but close in heart. Weeks passed with new routines, doctor visits, medicine boxes, and short, slow walks. I held his arm, helped him sit, brought his favorite tea, and kept the car warm. He talked more during drives about life and regrets, about how fast time could fly. I said little, but I listened well, and I knew my quiet presence gave him peace. He asked me once, "Do you have dreams?" And I paused, not sure what to say. I said, "A simple life with respect, with peace, and a family one day." He nodded, smiled slightly, and said, "Good dreams, strong dreams, worth chasing." He looked out the window as if seeing something far, something time could not erase. I cleaned the car each day, polished it twice, even if we didn't go anywhere. He noticed every detail, every corner, and said, "You treat this car like gold." I said, "It's yours, sir." And he said, "But you treat it like it's yours too." That sentence stayed with me, deeper than gold, stronger than any other gift. I didn't know what he was planning. I just kept doing my best every single day.
The days grew slower. He walked less, but we still sat outside when sun was soft. I brought him books, old music, warm soup, and stories I thought he might enjoy. He smiled more now, even laughed a little, and I felt lucky just to see that light. One night, he called me late, asked me to sit, and handed me a small blue box. Inside was a watch, old and silver, with letters carved inside and a quiet weight. He said, "This was my father's. Now it's yours because time belongs to those who care." I didn't know what to say. My hands shook, and all I could whisper was, "Thank you." He said, "You were like the son I never had," and that broke something in my heart. I never thought he felt that. I was just a driver, but somehow more now in his eyes. I said, "You've been like a father, too," and he nodded, silent and full of meaning. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the stars and thought of how life quietly changes. Mr. Adams began to walk slower each morning, and his voice turned soft and tired. I helped him sit in the sun, brought his tea with honey, and stayed near in silence. He often looked at the sky, like searching for someone or waiting for a message. I didn't ask questions. I just stayed close and gave him quiet support every day. The garden became our peaceful place, where flowers bloomed and birds came often. We sat under the tree, watched the colors change, and shared stories without rush. He told me about his wife again, how she laughed, how she loved rainy mornings. I could see how much he missed her. Even after years, the pain still lived inside. One afternoon, he handed me a leather book, old and filled with his life notes. He said, "This is my heart on paper," and asked me to keep it safe with care. Inside were pages of lessons, thoughts on work, love, family, and forgiveness. I read some slowly each night and learned things he never said out loud before. The house grew quieter, fewer guests came, and his world became smaller each day. He trusted only a few people, and I was always at the top of that short list. Sometimes he would fall asleep while talking, still holding my hand like a friend. In those quiet hours, I realized he had become more than a job to me.